Hello and welcome to your winter weather outlook. Yes, what are the next 90 to 120 days going to hold for central New York? Now, you should keep in mind, with the nights being so long, they get to like 15 hours worth of night, it's just not possible for it to be warm in winter here. There's too many hours of night. It's a matter of, well, will it be relatively mild, and how much or how little snow will we see? So, as we walk this path together, we will find out whether I should expect you to have more snow or less, and frigid or warm. I don't have a dog in the fight. I can't have a dog in the fight. So if you wind up hearing what I have to say and go, really? You're kidding. That's the way it goes. I don't have a rooting interest. I just predict it. And it's a good thing I don't anyway, because, think about it. Many people who don't have any work related to the weather want it to be warm and snow-free. But there's a lot of people who make their money with snow. Ski areas and snowmobiling and snow removal, snow plows, things like that. It would be a disservice to them for me to have a rooting interest if I had one. Okay, having prefaced it with that, we look big picture and go smaller and smaller to fine-tune the forecast. One of the big things I look at is the North Atlantic Oscillation. What the heck is that? Well, you don't have to know everything about it for the purposes of this forecast. You just need to know, is it going to affect it and how? North Atlantic Oscillation either goes positive or negative. Whichever way it goes whichever way it goes, results in either lower pressure in the North Atlantic or higher pressure overall. And it's a small difference, but it makes a difference over the long haul. Because if it's lower pressure, it'll tend to attract storms towards it. And look what's in its path, New York State. So if it were lower pressure, even just a few millibars of lower pressure, storms may have an influence to get closer to us to get to it. If the reverse were true, they would tend to avoid us in trying to avoid it. As it turns out, it's very close to neutral. It's not very far from it. It's not very positive or very negative. And as close as it's been, it's expected to get closer and closer to neutral. So it's expected to have very little effect either way. So we can discard that. Another big thing, El Nino. Yes, chapas, that's right. It's very intense. One of the most intense on record. It's expected to weaken late in the winter, but that's a long way away. We're talking February, March. So in the short term, it's very strong. What is it? It's the warmer waters over the eastern Pacific. Who cares? Okay. It's providing fuel and energy, warmer plus water, aids and abets the southern branch of the jet stream, intensifies it. Normally it's not a big player in our winter, but if it's intensified to near the strength of the northern branch of the jet stream, now we got something going on here. And if you've been paying attention to my forecast for the last 3 or 4 months, it feels like almost every day that I'm pointing out a storm in the Four Corners region or a storm in the Gulf or both. And that's probably because El Nino intensifying the southern branch, causing more storminess and allowing for that track to light up like a Christmas tree. If that southern branch is intense, it prevents polar outbreaks from diving and sitting in place. They have to kind of sideswipe us and keep on moving because the southern branch would keep eroding where they're moving down into. If you get my geometry here. So, that's the two major oscillations that can affect us. This one isn't, this one is. Southern branch means most of these storms move through to our south, taking with them the biggest storms. The northern branch is still active, but it can't come down and sit a while. So it'll bring these clippers out of Canada. And remember, when they come out of Canada, they don't have a source for moisture. Canada's dry. It's land. So it brings limited moisture, so you're not going to get a lot of snow from the storm itself. But it will shake up the lakes, and we're on the eastern side of one of them, so we will get the lake effect snow from it. But the cold air outbreaks will be short-lived. Behind them, there will be some highs parked out of Canada, bring us that cold air behind them. But they're also going to be, because of the pattern, Pacific highs knifing through in the mix. Who cares about that? Well, when you get the clearing skies, if the high doesn't come out of Canada, if it comes out of the Pacific, that's a mild source for fair weather. So the temps would tend to be milder, especially by day. Storms that move across the Great Lakes and shake out the flakes when the El Nino reverses would still do so, but would allow southern storms to begin taking that dog leg left in our direction. But more often than not, they will take the turn left, which is wet, not white. So that still doesn't help us in the transition, if you get my point. So as a result, here's what you can expect with this weather pattern. Now, not all storm paths are the same. There's not just 2 storm paths and that's it. A storm can go anywhere they want. But that's the basic 2 patterns for our storms. So it means less snowfall. For instance, the Tug Hill normally sees about 140, 150 inches a year. Expect about 70% of normal. So triple digits, but not much more. And for central New York, where we average about 93, 95, 96 inches, probably about half, 45 to 55. So, most of the snow will come from the lake, not the storms themselves. Brief frigid outbreaks, yes, but they will be brief. Mild spells in between. Late season uptick because El Nino reverses and coastal storms could be a factor late. Temperatures. This is a bar graph. Each 3-pack is a month. November, December, January, February, March. The first one is last year. The second one is the average. The third, the red one, is the forecast. Last year, average, forecast. So last year, notice the blue, went way below for January and February. Record cold months in there. I expect above average for November by a few degrees. Above average for December by a few degrees. But as we go through January, it gets close to and even goes sub-average temp-wise, just as we want to head towards spring. So above average for the first half, and then getting close to average and maybe even sub as we head out of winter. But once again, for snow lovers, Tug Hill gets the most because of the influence from the lake, but even that can't save the day. It's still going to be 30% below your average for a season, and maybe even 50% less for central New York. That is a look at your winter weather outlook. We'll post this and see how it looks throughout the winter, but now it's up to you to take it and make it a great day. Thanks for tuning in.